have a pillow for practice today. We'll be using it for different poses. And we'll start sitting in your chair, aligning your spine. And today's focus is going to be on trying to get some better sleep. And when we talk about sleep and yoga and breathing, we need to be thinking about that during the day and not when we're getting ready to go to bed, because there's different things that you could do throughout the day to support healthy sleep. But we want to make sure we get a good amount of deep restorative sleep and not the lighter, more restless sleep. And we need to get all stages of sleep, but it's super important that we also hit that deep sleep, which happens usually at the very beginning when we first fall asleep. That's usually when we go right into that deeper sleep. So I'll talk about it as we go through class, but we'll do some breathing practices also to support our sleep. We'll talk about tongue alignment, all those things, and then obviously our yoga practice, which helps to support it. So let's start out here. Feet flat on the floor. Just go ahead and feel those. You want to feel your sit bones anchored into the chair. Hands are going to start here, resting on your legs, and shoulders relaxed, and close our eyes. So I just want you to just check in with your breathing. So breathing in and out of your nose. Mouth breathing is not something we want to do unless it's something we're focusing on in the practice, but generally we always want to be breathing in and out of our nose, because when we go to sleep at night and we start mouth breathing, which leads to snoring and dryness and all sorts of other issues. So we want to make sure that we always practice breathing in and out of the nose, especially during the day, which is training our body for sleep at night. All kinds of reasons why we should be breathing in and out of our nose. Number one, it filters and humidifies the air as it comes into our lungs. We don't have a filter when we breathe through our mouth. We're just breathing in everything that comes in, including sometimes, unfortunately, pollution, dust, bugs, whatever else is floating out there. So our nose filters, and it also warms the air that comes in. It also has some tension. So we breathe in through the nose, there's a little bit of tension in there, which helps to strengthen our diaphragm. So we want to think about the diaphragm here, the respiratory diaphragm, which is a muscle, but it's like a vacuum, right? So it's moving down as you breathe in, and it's moving up as you breathe out. So when it moves down, it helps to actually pull that breath in. So when we're breathing today, I want you to think about that. So as you're inhaling, imagining the breath not coming just like in, like through the nose, but the actual pulling down of the diaphragm helps to draw that breath all the way down. And then the diaphragm pushes that breath all the way out through the nose. So just notice how your breath is feeling. Notice the tension as you breathe in and out. So if you just try for a second, just breathe in through the mouth. And you can take a lot of breath in through the mouth, and you can blow a lot of breath out through the mouth. And then try it through the nose. And just by having that tension through the nose, especially on that exhalation, it allows for us to have like a little bit longer exhalation. And our exhalations are the key to kind of dropping into that rest and digest, that parasympathetic nervous system. Okay, and then let's just go ahead and just do a quick check-in with our physical body before we begin. Just quick, just checking in, tension, anything that's going on. And then we'll go ahead and start with our intention, palms together, thumb knuckles at the heart. Set your intention for your practice today. I'm just really being like open-minded and learning about your body and how you can set yourself up for good sleep habits. And it's a habit for sure. Okay, and then you're gonna let that intention go. So you're gonna extend those arms out, release it, and let the arms float all the way down. So the first thing we're gonna do is I want you to feel at the rib cage, the bottom of the rib cage, this is where the diaphragm attaches. So we're gonna take our hands like this, almost like little letter L's, and we're gonna plug them in just at the lower rib cage, right? So the thumb will kind of go around the side and back, and the other fingers will be kind of towards the side and front. And now we're just going to breathe. We're just going to notice the movement of the rib cage. Let's take a breath in through the nose and a breath out through the nose. And just do about 4 more with your hands placed in this position. And then all I want you to do is become aware of your rib cage moving out in all directions and drawing in. So we can feel the side of the rib cage, the front of the rib cage, and a little bit of the back ribs with the thumbs. So noticing when we're breathing like this is our diaphragm moving up and down, which is just expanding all the way around the ribs. So the respiratory diaphragm, like I said before, is a muscle, but it's also attached to our pelvic diaphragm, into the other muscles of our core. And the muscles that will not or should not be working for respiration, they will a little bit, but not fully, is going to be those upper back and chest and neck muscles, right? Because these are our accessory muscles. They should not be the main movers or the main movers for the breath. Okay, relax. Let your hands here. So sometimes when we're anxious and we take more chest breaths, so I want you to put your hand on your chest and imagine you're anxious and just do a couple of breaths where you're just going like that, real fast, like that. And then you'll notice that the shoulders start to move and the neck tenses up. And that's not what we want to do, because this is going to cause us to, number one, go into sympathetic state, which means we're ready to run, and because we're now like in an anxiety state, fight, flight. And then we're breathing down here. This is our parasympathetic, our rest and digest. This is where we want to be most of the time. Now, we want to have an adaptable nervous system, which means you can go into this anxious state, but then you should be able to just bring yourself back to this rest and digest state with ease without getting stuck here in our fight and flight state. So we want to stay more rest and digest most of the day, stress state only when we need to be, but be able to bring it back down. So this takes practice, right? Because a lot of times we can stay stuck in this position where we're just anxious, and then we try to lay down and go to sleep, and you're wide awake, you're wired but tired, right? So you lay there, you're staring at the ceiling, you're not falling asleep. You can feel your heart like boom, boom, boom in your chest. Your breath is up here, and then you can't fall asleep. So how do we make that flip, right? So we have to work on this rest and digest part, the breathing, the yoga, the relaxation in the daytime, right? So it's practice all the time. Like think about, I have a morning practice, I have an evening practice. Your morning practice can be a little bit more like vigorous or heated, but your evening practice should always be calming and relaxing. So that means laying in your bed or laying on the floor and doing like some gentle twisting or some maybe supported poses, like a supported bridge pose or supported heart opener or something like that. just so that your body can get into that state, and you're going to be doing that diaphragmatic breath, meaning you're just bringing the breath deep into the belly. So we're going to go over some breathing, and when I say like deep, it doesn't mean like you're going to go like that, take a deep breath. That doesn't mean that. Deep means where it's located, which means it's down here into the belly, not up here into the chest, okay? We can actually do a very light and slow and deep breath without having it being really full, meaning you're taking a full breath, but a deep breath, meaning it's down here. So we're going to play with that. We're going to put our hands on our lower belly. We're going to close our eyes down, and I want you to count your breath. So counting means you're going to count your breath, and everybody's breath is going to be different. So if I count to 4 and you count to 4, my breath may be longer than your breath. Okay. So if you're counting to 4, it could be like 1, 2, 3, 4, or it could be 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. So that's what I'm saying. When I say 4 count breath, you're going to count to 4, your count. So we're going to take a nice breath in for 4. And I want you to feel it down here, not up here. And then you're going to exhale for 6 counts. So again, you counting your count, right? It's going to be different than mine. And again, in for 4 counts. And out for 6. So all we're doing is we're extending that exhalation by 2 counts. Okay, and then just see how that feels. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to add on, we're going to layer this a little bit. So the tongue placement is important too. We want to make sure if you take the tip of your tongue and place it right at the back of the front teeth, and then the other part of your tongue is going to go up into the roof of your mouth. And then the back teeth are going to be separated. So there's a relaxed jaw that happens. So we're not clenching. We're going to do that while we're doing this breath work at the same time. So the tongue stays rooted up to the roof, and then the breath is deep down into the belly. Let's do about 5 rounds with that, with the tongue placement. So go ahead and place the tongue, relax the jaw, and let's take about 5 breaths. 4 count inhale, 6 count exhale. Okay, once you're finished, just relax your hands. So that's just a practice that you could do every single day, right? It doesn't take that long. You can say, I'm going to do 10 breaths just like that. I'm going to do it in the morning before I do movement, right? It's kind of like a warm up. And then you can add some movement, and then you can do some movement with a breath practice, which we're going to do next. So the other thing I like to do is the yoga practice is the ujjayi breath, which is the ocean breath. And it's just for just like slightly like creating the sound in the back of your throat. So if you just take imaginary mirror that you're going to hold in front of your face, and you know how you fog a mirror up, you just go like that. So you're going to do that same ah sound, but you're going to have your mouth closed. So you're just going to do imaginary mirror, mouth is closed, make that ha sound on the exhale. And that's it. Doesn't have to be super loud. It's a warming breath, but also it helps you to stay tuned into some sound, a little bit of sound. It doesn't mean that the person next to you or the person in the next room is going to hear you, but it's just your personal sound that you're going to hear just for you, right? This is your breath and no one else, you need to share it. So it doesn't have to be super loud. I've been in classes where you could hear the person all the way in the back of the room breathing, but you don't need to be that way. It just needs to be light. So we're going to practice that ujjayi breath. with movement. So we'll do seated cat and cow, and you can make your breaths a little shorter for this one. So maybe a 4 count, like 4 count inhale, 4 count exhale, or even shorter, right? 2 or 3, whatever works for you. So you can play with it. So let's do about 6 rounds of seated cat and cow with Ujjayi breath and just adding your breath count to it. So you want them to be the same. So I'm going to work with a 3 count inhale and a 3 count exhale. So you're breathing in through the nose. You're breathing out through the nose, but you're creating that little sound in the back of your throat. So just by doing this movement and making sure that the breath is kind of starting the movement first, that we're not getting ahead of the breath. So the breath is literally going to be the guide for the movement. Okay, finishing up this last round here. And then just coming back to seated mountain pose. Okay, so the next one we're going to do is side bending. And what we're going to do is we're going to breathe in, we're going to take that arm over, and then we're going to stay, we're going to hold the side bend. And I'm just going to invite you to maybe just do a little tapping here, maybe just a little bit of friction here. Just think about opening up those intercostal muscles on the side body. Okay, so let's just show you what we're doing now. We're going to do it. Okay, so let's take our breath in. We're going to reach up and over, and you can put your hand behind your head if you want to. And then just take your opposite arm and maybe just do a little light tapping, like right along the rib cage, go from the bottom all the way up to the armpit. You can also just add a little bit of rubbing around here just to create some warmth, a little bit of friction around there. And just breathing in and out of the nose. So all this like great, the touch, the human touch, like touching yourselves is really nice too, very soothing for the nervous system. Okay, and then we're going to release that. And then just take a moment, just notice how you feel before we switch to the other side. Okay, and we'll take the other arm up. And again, you can have it just reaching over. You can rest your hand either on the top or the back of the head. Opposite arm comes across to start some tapping, light tapping. It doesn't have to be anything too strong. And then if you want to do a little bit of like rubbing up and down and around the rib cage, you can do that. Okay, and last breath here. And then slowly releasing, coming back to seated mountain pose. And now we're going to do our arms up and down. So we'll go from mountain pose to extended mountain pose, back and forth. And we're going to use the breath as the guide for that. So arms are going to be down by your side to begin. So you're going to start your inhale first. So you're going to start the in breath, and then you're going to reach the arms up. And then you're going to start your out breath, and then the arms will come down. So I want you to figure out what is going to be my breath count. And you're going to take that full inhale. So I'm going to start with 3. And then 3 to come down. So it's just getting used to moving with the breath. So we're not getting ahead of it. Actually, the breath stays slightly ahead of the movement. So start your exhale, and then you'll follow behind it with the move. And it's just a good way to really practice it with just arms up and down because it's easy. So when you're doing your yoga practice, it really helps you to feel calm and relaxed if you keep this type of breath going throughout the entire practice without getting ahead of it. Then you'll find that your breath doesn't start to get out of control. Over breathing, like too much breath is not good either, because when you start getting too much oxygen in, our body doesn't know what to do with it, so it starts to again create that almost like a hyperventilation, so it creates anxiety. So by keeping the calm, relaxed breathing throughout the practice, now you're setting yourself up for your nervous system to be more in that parasympathetic state, which is what we want. Let's take our legs apart, and we're going to continue to play with this breath practice. And I just want you to play with how long is my breath going to be. So you can play with that longer, shorter, whatever works for you, but just trying to stay breath always coming out first or going in first, and then the move follows behind it in anything that we're doing today. Okay. And then it is a habit, like it'll get better. Might be a little more challenging as you're just beginning it, but then as it goes on, you'll think about it more. So we're going to just do some side stretches here. So forearm's going to rest on your thigh. You can have the palm up. And so we'll take the breath in as we reach over. And then we're going to exhale. Arm comes down behind, and then as it comes up, you're going to begin to inhale, and it starts to move down, you'll exhale. So picking your speed of your breath, and that'll control the movement. So if I'm moving slower than you, that just means your breath is faster than mine. I'm doing a 3 count, but my 3 count could look completely different than yours. Last one. And then we'll inhale, sit up tall. Okay, so again, it can be a little more challenging, but just be patient with yourself. Let's try it on the other side. Same thing. So remember, the inhale takes it up and almost coming around the front, and then the exhale as it's dropping down and starting to ascend. Then the inhale takes over. And you should be counting your breath here. Okay, last one. And then we'll inhale, sit up nice and tall, relax the shoulders, and then bring your feet in. So now we're going to practice a couple standing poses, and we will be holding a couple of poses. So when we're holding it, we're just going to stay with that same breath pattern that you've chosen, except you'll be staying in the posture. You're still going to be doing Ujjayi breath, right? So still that ocean breath back of the throat. So it'll be a little bit more to think about. But I think, once you get it, we're not going to make it too challenging today, but we're just layering some things on top of it. So let's go ahead and hinge forward. We're going to come off the chair. We're going to hold for 2 breaths in chair pose. So you'll just be hovering slightly above the seat of the chair. Your hands can be here at heart center. You can cross your arms, whatever is comfortable for you. So go ahead and find your chair pose. Ground through the bottoms of your feet, and let's hold for about 2 full breaths. And you count your breath here, whatever your count is. Okay, on your next exhale, push down, stand all the way up. And we're going to walk around. Just stand on the mat. We're going to just shift the chair a little bit so we have some space to work with here. And you'll step your feet out wider. And the foot that's closest to the chair, we're going to pivot that out to 90 degrees, and then we'll turn in the back foot. So we're going to set up for warrior 2. Bring your hands up on top of your hips, and then as you push down into your foot, go ahead and bend that knee. And we're going to hold this position, so anchoring through the legs and the feet, and then we're going to inhale, stretch the arms apart, palms flipped up to the ceiling, and then we're going to look forward. We're going to hold this for 3 breaths, right? So you figure out your count. I'm going to do 3 counts, inhale, 3 counts, exhale for 3 full breaths. And again, you want this breath to be down deep into the belly, not up here at the chest. Ujjayi breathing. Tongue as resting at the roof of your mouth. Your jaw is relaxed, so we're not clenching. And especially when we're doing our yoga poses, if you keep that tongue resting at the roof of your mouth, it's going to help you support your head and neck. All right, reverse warrior. So we're now reaching up with the front arm, down with the back arm, and our gaze is lifted. Keep that tongue there, keep breathing. Relax everything else, shoulders, ground through the bottoms of your feet. And then we're going to release to warrior two on the next exhale. Take a breath in and then exhale. Place your hand on the back of your chair, and then we're going to reach that top arm over for extended side angle pose. And you can choose to look down or up. And again, keeping that tongue placed at the roof of your mouth, tongue, the tip of your tongue, back of the teeth, jaw slightly hinged, just released. And then the breath, 3 breaths here. Okay, and then take your time coming all the way back up. And we'll step our feet together. We're going to be facing towards the seat of the chair. We're going to take a forward fold. We're going to hold that for 3 breaths. You can have your hands just resting on the seat. If that's too far down, you can bring it here. And then once you're in position, go ahead and hold there. You still want to have that tongue placement. Breath still coming down into the belly. And then to come out of it, you're going to bend your knees and just walk your hands up your legs. We're going to shift over to the other side so you can just adjust your chair or your mat. And we'll step our feet wide again. And the foot that's closest to the chair, you're going to pivot that 90 degrees so that it's just facing right towards the chair. The toes could be underneath the edge. Back foot turns in, and then hands up on hips, and we're going to push into the foot, allowing that knee to bend. So this is staying the same. Legs are grounded, feet anchored. And then inhale, reach the arms apart, turn the palms up and look forward. And we're holding here for 3 breaths. So remember, checking in, noticing if your tongue is in that place, the breath is in the belly, you're counting your inhales, your exhales. Reverse the warrior. Gaze is lifted, arm reaches up, back arm reaches to the ground. And then returning to warrior two, and then we'll go into side angle pose. You can put your hand right on the back of the chair, reaching up and over, and staying for those 3 full breaths. Okay, and then returning to warrior two, arms are wide. And releasing, stepping your foot forward. And we'll actually stand behind the chair. So if you need to adjust it, if you don't have space, go ahead and adjust it. We'll go to downward facing dog from here. So walking those feet back. Arms are reaching overhead, and just let your ears be right between your upper arms. Feet planted, knees can soften, and we're extending that tailbone back. And crown of the head forward. And we're holding for 3 full breaths here, allowing it to come into the belly. Tongue is still in position. Jaw is relaxed. And And then after that last exhale, you will walk your feet forward. And then position your chair again. Walk around in front of it, and we're going to come back down to sitting, but we're going to hold that chair pose again for 2 full breaths. In through the nose, out through the nose. And then you'll gently have a seat and come back to your seated mountain pose. Okay, the next thing we're going to do is some twisting. We're going to go like a vinyasa style. We're going to go back and forth with movement with the breath, and then we're going to hold it. So we'll go 3 times to one side, and then that same side, we're going to hold it for 3 breaths, and then we'll release, and then we'll go to the same thing on the other side. So what we'll do is we're going to find our arms out in front. We're going to go ahead and exhale, and you can drop your arms, take an inhale, and then exhale, come back to center. So you're going to do your counting of your breath. You can pick 2, 3, 4, whatever you're using. Okay, this is one more, and then we're going to come out. And then this one, we're going to stay for 3 breaths. So coming in, and now we're staying. And you're going to play around with little micro movements with your inhales and your exhales. Trying to lengthen the spine, trying to find rotation. And noticing too, with that tongue placed at the roof of your mouth, you can feel the length of your neck as the top of your head reaches upwards. And then all the way down your spine to your tailbone as it anchors into the chair. Okay. And then when you're done those 3 breaths, you're going to come back to center. Just take a moment to notice. We both switch to the other side. All right, arms out in front. So we're going to go into the twist. Exhaling. Inhaling back to center. Remember to start the breath first. So you'll start your exhale, then you'll twist. Keep counting. And you'll start your inhale as you come all the way back. Now we're going to come in and stay for 3 full breaths. So exhaling in and then staying. Inhale and exhale. And then we'll inhale, coming all the way back when you're finished. Back to seated mountain pose. All right, so grab that pillow. And now we're going to do an upper back, more thoracic spine back bend. So you're going to put that behind your upper back. So that'll be your support. Then you're going to sit up against it so you can feel that support. Now we're just going to be really opening up all the front of the chest, the collarbones, the neck, and the front of the shoulders. Okay, so now those arms relax down. You can have them just like open up here. You can also, if you want to hold on somewhere onto your chair, you're welcome to do that. You can have your legs bent, or you can have them straightened, whatever feels good. And then we're going to take our fist real quick, and I just want you to bring your thumb to your chin and your pinky to your chest. And this is like the size of like a lemon, and we want to make sure that we hold this space in our neck. So we don't want to be here, but we also don't want to have this happening either. So check your neck position and then hold that as you release the arm back down. And then we can close the eyes. We're going to stay here for 3 to 4 breaths. You can make this a little longer if you want to do 4 inhale, 6 exhale, or pick whatever you feel is appropriate. Ujjayi breath is optional. You just do normal breathing in and out of the nose. Usually when I do a restorative, I just do my normal breath without creating sound. But you do whatever you prefer. Let's take one more breath. And just take your time to come out of it. If your legs are straight, bend them first, then you'll sit up, and then you're going to take out your pillow. All right, so what you'll do during the day, you can do some breathing practices, like in the morning, if you're doing a yoga practice, you'll just do that. And then in the evening, like maybe say an hour before you go to bed, obviously you're not going to be eating that close to bedtime, so it'd probably been give yourself a couple hours, 2, 3 hours before you go to bed. Like, don't eat too close to bedtime. You want your body to not worry about digestion when you go to sleep, because if it's digesting, it's very hard for these organs to be able to do what they need to do, which is doing some deep cleaning, right? The brain, all the organs, the liver, kidneys, all of that needs to process. And if it's busy digesting, your heart rate's going to be elevated. It's going to be more challenging to sleep. So that's number one. Number two is go to bed at a reasonable time. What I always say is you got to catch the wave. And the older that you get, your wave is going to come much earlier than you think. Okay. Most people, and me included, I'm probably going to bed, or I'm getting ready for bed by 9:30, and I'm in bed, tucked in, ready to go to sleep by 10, no later than 10. If I miss the wave, say if I go to bed 11, I'm not going to sleep. I know that. I've proven it to myself. Then I'm like stuck in, like I have to kind of just read for a little bit and let my body go back into this rhythm again. Then it's much harder for me to get into deep sleep, because I said the beginning of the sleep cycle is where we're getting our deeper sleep. So if you can just practice your sleep hygiene and really figure out, like for you, like when you're starting to fall asleep. Good indicators, like you're watching a TV program and you notice you start dozing off, and it could be 8:30 at night. It could be early than you think it is. That's generally like when your body's getting ready for sleep. It wants to go to sleep. And then if you keep waking up and keep going, like, waking up and doing things, you might have missed that opportunity to get to bed. So play with that, try to figure that what's that best time that I need to go to bed. And then an hour before you do that, try some yoga poses. I would recommend the one we just did, that heart opener. You could also do a gentle twist. You can do it lying down in your bed, no problem. Like I do some stuff in my bed all the time. So you could do like a little gentle twist. You can cross your legs over, whatever feels good. Maybe if you're laying on the floor, you could put like a pillow or something underneath of your sacrum, which would be like a supported bridge pose. Those three, or legs up the wall. If you're laying on your bed, you could just throw your legs up the wall. You can also do it on the floor. That also is a really good thing to do before you go to sleep at night. So any of those would work. I mean, simply like 3 or 4 poses, nothing. And then definitely the breathing, right? The breathing that we did at the beginning, where I was having you have your hands on your belly. Do about 10 rounds of that with that tongue against the roof of your mouth. Make sure you're breathing in and out of your nose, because we're teaching us when we go to sleep at night to not breathe through our mouths, right? It's very common for our jaw to become very slack. The tongue can slide back and create like a little apnea, right? So that's sleep apnea when your tongue blocks the airway. So we're teaching the tongue where to be by doing that roof of the mouth. So those are just very simple things that you can just practice. It doesn't have to be everything all at once either. Maybe just adding in the yoga or adding in the breathing and then layering on those other things that we went through today. So it's not complicated. It's just remembering to do it, which is in of itself complicated, right? Okay, so let's find our Shavasana. Again, sit back. If you want to use your pillow again, you're welcome to. You can also just put the pillow right over top of your belly, which is what I'm going to do, and rest my hands on top of it. So it gives me just a little bit of feedback here with the breathing. Eyes are closed, gentle breaths. And when I say deep, it doesn't mean this big, deep breath. It just means that's where you want the breath to go, is deep into the belly. Everything else is relaxed. Shoulders, face is relaxed. That tongue is still placed there, the roof of your mouth, tip of your tongue resting at the back of the front teeth. Jaw is relaxed. Don't worry about counting your breath here. Just breathe relaxed in and out of the nose, smooth and light. And when you go to sleep, the breath should be super light, like you barely can even like feel yourself breathing. Okay, let's slowly start to bring awareness back into your body. Just inviting some movement into the hands and the feet, maybe the arms and legs. And then when you're ready, you're just going to find that seated mountain pose. Sit up tall, close your eyes. Take a moment to check in, see how you're feeling. See if you feel a little bit more relaxed. And then we're going to bring that intention back into the heart space. So reaching those arms out. When that intention back into your heart, take a moment to thank yourself. And then just being curious about some of the things we learned today and how you can incorporate them to help you get some better sleep. And then we'll bring thumb knuckles up to the third eye point. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Peace, peace, peace. Namaste. All right, thank you guys so much for joining me today.